All right. Okay, so what questions do you have? Study sessions. Questions? You got to come with questions. I don't just give answers.
She answered it this morning, so that was my one question.
Oh. Okay.
I will find
I just printed the study guide and it has disappeared. I'll just bring it up. Feel free to ask.
So for the 7 Years' War of America,
Mm-hmm.
who exactly were the two sides? Was it the British or the French? Or has I've heard like a bunch of different.
What have you heard?
Because I've heard things about it being called like the French and Indian War and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
Was it the French versus the Indians or the French versus the British?
Ah, good question. The French and Indian War. Who started the French and Indian War? Okay, how did he start it? By shooting the French officer. Yes. But why was he there? He was asking the French to leave. So, who were the French fighting with? The French and English were started fighting against each other, but were the French fighting by themselves? They were fighting with the Indians. Okay. What else can you tell me about the French and Indian War?
Weren't they using like guerrilla warfare?
They did. Very good. They used guerrilla warfare. So why was that significant?
Because they killed off a lot of English.
They did.
And they like huge long trek that they're doing. They're all like lined up like that, and when the Indians would like come out of the woods and shoot them, and then would run back.
Mm-hmm. So how many people died on the English side? Yes. How many do you think? It gave you some figures. Hey there. What's that? It was. And that was with which officer?
Wait, was it Braddock?
It was Braddock. It was Braddock.
Was it also being fought over in New York?
Yes, it was.
It was fought all over.
What's that?
The French and Indians. The First World War.
It was the First World War. What the scholars are now treating as is the First World War. Yes.
That's why they gotta like change all the names. Like World War II is actually World War III.
No, they won't do that. But you have to understand how significant the French and Indian War was to world history, not just U.S. history. Right? Nice. What else? Other questions? Robin and Amanda, does that make sense?
Yeah. I have a question though.
Yes.
Is chapter 5 going to be on the test, even though we haven't done a PowerPoint on it yet?
The PowerPoint is done. The lectures are online for you. And my 21st century phone kept ringing in the the year 1775. So you can blame my husband for that one. They're online.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's a very long chapter. I think there were 70-some slides to it. But they're cool slides.
Lots of pictures, I'm sure.
Yes, many pictures. That's the problem.
So where are the big navigational acts?
Ah. Where are they or what are they?
Well, I know there's the Sugar Act, the Stamp Act. And then I think there's a
Okay, but those aren't the navigation acts. Those aren't necessarily the navigation acts. The Molasses Act is part of the navigation acts. Who can find the navigation acts?
I think the navigation acts just say that nothing could be brought in from a foreign country at all. Had to go to England and get checked, and then go back to the U.S. and come from the West Indies directly to America.
What
And
is
they
like,
couldn't trade with the Indians. Was that the navigation?
Yes, there were 4. So, the Molasses Act, you mentioned the Molasses Act. What does that say? Yeah, which chapter are you on? Maybe y'all can help each other out.
I mean, chapter 2.
wasn't it?
Chapter 3?
Yeah.
Navigation.
How about chapter 4? Amanda and Robin, I have the study guide up here on the screen. Can you see the screen or not?
I printed it off, and so I have it right there.
Okay.
I printed it off too. No, we can't see it. I can't see it on your screen.
Okay.
Oh, okay, yeah, I found it. Page 96.
Okay. So tell me about it, Garrick.
The first one was enacted in 1651, and it said that trade be carried on in English and colonial-owned vessels, not Dutch.
Right. Okay. And?
The second one in 1660 that certain enumerated commodities be exported via England or Scotland, and barring imports from arriving in non-English ships.
Okay. Can you all hear Amanda and Robin? Okay, keep going, Garrick.
And the third one in 1663 stipulated that imports to the colonies arrived via England rather than directly from another country.
And?
Then the last one was the Molasses Act.
And what did that do?
Taxed at 6 pence a gallon all foreign molasses, produced from sugar cane and imported primarily for distilling rum.
Okay. So what was significant about the Navigation Acts? Why were they important?
They limited who and what the colonies could gain trade-wise. That everything had to go through England.
And they raised the price a little bit because they had more in England.
But what did it do for the profits of the merchants?
We got a lot of money.
Well, was it a positive for the economy in the colonies or negative for the economy in the colonies? Why negative?
Because getting stuff was more expensive.
Okay. You need to read that section a little bit further. So, can anyone tell me one of the positive impacts of the Navigation Acts?
It made a protected market for Northwest exports in Britain.
Okay.
It limited all imperial trade to English-bound ships.
Yeah. Is that a positive or negative?
Positive for the English.
Positive for the English, and was that just people in England?
No, your ship had to be at least 3/4 English.
Right. So, 3/4 English, could you have slaves?
Yep.
And the slaves who had to be owned by whom?
The English.
Okay. What I'm getting at is which English? Where were they residing? Right. Okay, so colonial English benefited as well as some of the merchants in England, correct? And some of the other colonies around the world? Okay, so keep going. They built a lot more ships, which led to more urbanization. Yeah, it did have an impact, the shipbuilding, but also then after that, it had an impact because young men had an avenue of revenue, right? Young men who no longer had any, or didn't have any ability to purchase land or work land, went out on the high seas to make their money, right? Okay? Overall, what did it do for the planters' profits? Man, I can't hear. Thank you. Oh. Okay. Let's see. Wonder why. Can you hear me now?
Oh, it reduced the planters' profits by about 3%.
Right. So was that significant?
Significant amount, very.
Right. Right. The Navigation Acts, what did they do for the overall economy? They still can't hear me. I'm going to sign off and sign back on. I'll be right back. Disconnect. Yeah. Yeah. The colonists were making a lot of money, right? Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you.
Perfect, okay. All right, we're just discussing the Navigation Acts and what impact it had. So, some say that the acts were a negative on the economy, and some say they were a positive. So overall, what would you say? It dramatically increased the economies in the colonies. Okay, even though they had to go through England, it eventually created what kind of a society? Right, exactly, a consumer society. So if you have a consumer society, that means that you have what kind of income? Exactly, called disposable income. And a disposable income means that you have enough money to buy the luxuries and not just survive. Okay? So overall, the Navigation Acts worked, even though it doesn't always seem like it should work, but overall it worked pretty well for the economy. Make sense? Any other questions about the Navigation Acts? Okay. What else? Amanda or Robin, do you have any questions?
I had a question about what day the test was exactly and what time it is.
The test for you is tomorrow at 3 p.m. Unless you want to come to the test on Thursday at noon. But you have a trek, right?
Yep.
Okay. You're big on this screen, you're small on this screen, so so I'll keep going back and forth.
The test is at the Thursday class?
Yes. Unless you wanted to take it early, Robin, but your test is on Thursday at noon.
Okay.
The high school students here have a different kind of schedule, so they have a conflict now for the Thursdays at noon for 2 weeks, and so that's why they're taking theirs tomorrow. Okay, what other questions do you have? This is fun. And also the rest of the Chapter 4 lecture is also online. But I have to warn you, the Chapter 5 one is an hour and 30 minutes, and one is, I think, 45 minutes. So. Yes. Those are on Blackboard. Mm-hmm. Ah, Calvinist versus Lutheran versus Catholic versus Anglican. Great question. What can you tell me about Calvinism? Well, which chapter was it in? Do you remember? It was in chapter 2. Very good. Anybody know where in chapter 2? What was in chapter 3? In chapter 2. Does anybody know what Calvinism is? The difference between Calvinism, the Puritans, the Lutherans, the Catholics, the Anglicans.
It's all religious different.
They are all different denominations of Christianity, right? Okay.
Calvinists say predestined.
Yes, Calvinists are predestined. What does that mean?
No matter what you do, you need to go to heaven.
Okay. So a certain number of people were predestined to be able to go to heaven, right? And the rest go to hell, right? Okay. So what's the difference between that and Protestant or Lutheran?
Say that you do that thing for him.
Okay.
It's not
Most of them say that you have to do the right things to go to heaven. But keep going.
It's not based on the predestination.
Correct. It's not based on predestination. It's based on something else. What? Faith? Okay. There's something else, though. So it's based on, it's a reward as a believer's faith, but you have something else that happens.
Is it baptized?
Mm.
Baptism?
No, not baptism. What happens to you when you are, like, baptized in the faith? Thank you. Yes, you're reborn. Okay, that's an important part of the Lutheranism. Okay. Now, how about the Puritans? Who were they?
They thought Lutherans were pure enough.
They didn't think anybody was pure enough. Yeah. Basically. Go ahead. Yes, they were. The city on the hill. And who was the the mayor or the governor of the city on the hill? Nope. Good try. Good try. No. Andros wasn't very popular. This guy was at least a little popular to begin with. No, he was Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. Remember, he's the one who actually wanted to pay the natives for their land. Okay? Not necessarily his sons. Or, I guess they... What's that? Oh! Oh! Aiden, you're killing me! No, no, no. Thomas Paine, no. No.
John Winthrop?
Yes, Winthrop. George Winthrop. Mm-hmm. We'll get to Thomas Paine. Don't worry. Because you need to know Thomas Paine, too.
Thomas Paine's the one who wrote Common Sense, right?
Exactly. Very good. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Okay, so getting back to the original question about predestination Calvinism, what's important about these different religions in the colonies?
They all have a little bit of tension between them.
Okay, they all have some tension. Yep. They definitely have different varying degrees of tension. What else?
The crown changed between them.
What do you mean?
So the king would be one of them, and so that religion went Catholic. Catholics would rise up in kind of the society, and then it might change to a different one, and then they would drop back down,
Okay.
and the other ones would rise up.
Okay. So, depending on who was in power at the time, the religion could potentially benefit more? Okay. Yes, in general, yes. There are more levels to that, but in general, yes. So how about the King of England? What was he?
Which one?
Ah, great question. If I were going to go with the one who kept beheading his wives.
Isn't that James?
Nope. James was Catholic. Yes, he was Anglican. And he kept beheading his wives. Who was he? Henry VIII. Very good. So King Henry VIII kept beheading his wives, but why was that?
He didn't have a son.
Right. He didn't have a son, which genetically it was his fault, right? So he just kept beheading his wives, but in response, I mean, he wanted to, well, what did he want to do with his first wife? He wanted to divorce her, and what happened? Right, which church? The Catholic Church didn't accept that. So then what did he say? Or what did he do? What?
I'll make my own religion.
He said, I'm going to create my own religion. Exactly. So I can do whatever I want. And I can divorce my wives and behead them. Or behead them, or both, right? Okay. So which religion did he start?
Anglican.
Anglican, yes. Okay, so the Anglican religion was here in England. What happened, though? I mean, how long were there tensions there with the Anglican religion as being the head of the English crown? Right, it lasted 5 years, 10 years, 100 years. It was until King James was overthrown. It even lasted a little bit longer than that. Okay? So, well over 100 years. Okay? Where they were fighting for that. So, it's significant because Puritans were supposedly pure. Okay. They were also Protestant, yes?
Is the Anglican religion still popular too?
Yes. Yes, it is. And I believe, and don't quote me on this, I'd have to look it up, but I believe Anglican is Episcopal. It's another denomination of the Christian religions. Puritans were what was your original question? No, way back in the beginning of the religious questions. Yes, Puritans were Calvinists. Okay? They were militant Calvinists. Very hardcore Calvinists. This was exactly how you were going to do it, or else. So they were very strict, and that translated into their society, right? And Hutchinson might agree with that. Very, very strict. Yeah? Okay. What other kind of questions? Ow.
Do we still have class today at noon?
We do.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Not Wednesday, right?
Correct. Okay. So Thomas Paine wrote what?
Common sense.
Okay. What was important about common sense?
It showed the logical. It had a more logical view of religion.
Okay. It wasn't really targeting as much religion as something else. What was it targeting? It was the government. Which government?
The English.
It was targeting the English government, but it was more than just English. It was targeting... What's that? No, not quite.
Oh, it focused on that America really didn't need support from Britain economically.
Right. There was something else, though. Who was evil? Or what was evil? The king, who represents the... What's that called? The king and all his... Monarchy, yes. Monarchy. So Thomas Paine was all about... and he was anti-monarchy, right? Okay. What else? What effect did common sense have on the colonists? You mentioned part of it. That they didn't need Britain.
So it was like the last part that populated the
Okay. So it was really the last psychological barrier to breaking free, correct? Okay. That's pretty significant, right? George Washington actually read parts of Common Sense to his troops before they went into battles. So, Common Sense not only was read by how many people? How many were sold in North America, in the colonies?
1 in 4 men.
Exactly, 1 in 4 men. But then, what happened in churches? What was happening in churches at this time?
The preachers were didn't tell it.
Good.
Yeah.
They did more than hint, yes. Yes.
They read them in churches.
They would read some, but their sermons often were all about liberty. Okay? And they would take some precepts of common sense and they would weave that in. And so it was more than just one part of society that was getting into this liberty, right? Liberty, the one that takes it, once it takes root, it's a plant of rapid, how'd that go? Once it takes root, it's a plant of rapid growth. Thank you. Quote by George Washington that we read. So, yeah, common sense was extremely important in our history. Any other questions?
What was the difference between the Massachusetts and the Pennsylvania government systems?
Ah. Well, who started the Massachusetts system?
Massachusetts system.
Mm-hmm. What's it based on? It's based on Puritanism. And what's the Pennsylvania system based on? The Quakers. So, a little bit of a difference there. Right? Ah, who were the Quakers? Nope, they're not Catholics. Right, pacifists? Right, they're definitely pacifists. Okay. So who was the proprietor of Pennsylvania? William Penn. And William Penn came in, and he wanted to purchase land from the natives, correct? Okay. What else did he want to do in Pennsylvania?
Religious tolerance.
He wanted religious tolerance. Did the Puritans want religious tolerance? Not necessarily. They wanted tolerance for the Puritans and the Puritan religion, right? I mean, that's why they came. They wanted to make sure that they remained pure, and they wouldn't be influenced, and their children wouldn't be influenced by the Dutch society and the Dutch religions. Or, not Dutch religions, but they didn't want them to become Dutch, right? So they came over and started the city on the hill. Okay, so there are some significant differences, though. And New England kind of had its own system of government. Can you tell me a couple things about the government, how they set up their colonies?
Town meetings.
Town meetings.
Like a parliament, and then there's a governor, mayor.
Okay. Parliament, but it was called what? Kind of a representative meetings, yes. Where did they come from? How did they get there? Part of the representative.
Wasn't it by going to church?
Ah. Aha. So, you're getting closer. You're getting closer. Okay. Parliament, their system of government, for their elected, and this is elected, is the assembly, correct? It's called the assembly. All right. But who could vote? Most men. Why could most men vote? Nope. Not in... Very good. In general, in English society, it is the landowners. Exactly. Okay, so that's a significant difference between New England and Pennsylvania, especially, right? Okay, so William Penn came in, created created a colony. What kind of government did it have? Strong executive. That's accurate. What else did it have?
I have to go to class.
All right, Amanda. Thanks for coming. This will be recorded, so you can review it, what you didn't see if you want to.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. When does it start? Now? Oh, okay. All right. Robin, any other questions? The rest of the class has to leave. Oh, tell me more about how William Penn set up his government.
They showed up for at least the wrong hour. You know.
So you'll need to know a little bit more about how he set up his government, as well as the New England governments. There's a lot of information to reread. Okay.